Yeah, it's almost 10:07, I think, Logesh. Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's
we
start.
can get started and others can join. All right. So, today's topic is going to be data cloud. As you all might have heard in the last couple of years, it's been a huge area of development within Salesforce and for all the partner networks as well. And it's kept getting bigger and bigger, I would say, and there is lots coming down the pike for data cloud as well. So this session is about giving a high level overview and also just kind of touching a little bit on what makes data cloud behind the scenes. What is the technology that drives data cloud? It's essential to kind of have a knowledge of that, so I've included that part as well, so we can get started. um, there will be a little bit of business oriented intro into this, and then we will get into the specifics of how data cloud works, and I'll also show you an instance, my personal instance, and just so that you get a feel of what the data cloud application contains. Second, let me share my screen. Share. All right. So yeah. Before we go into the details, just something that you might have seen before. This is a forward-looking statement, meaning uh, some of the things that I'm mentioning, usually most of the things that I'm mentioning is already available in the market and everything. But if you are, I mean, none of us are we're all developer oriented community, but in general, if the salespeople, if they are making purchasing decisions, you will have to look at the product details more in depth to make those decisions and not make your decisions based on what is shown in the presentation. It's just something that we, any presentations that Salesforce people make, we have to let everyone know of this. Yeah. First of all, thanks to everyone who has joined here and taking your time to learn about data cloud. I know it's a weekend and you're spending time, so that means you are focused on some things, so that's great. So just we want to share a thank you for that from the Almond Trailblazer Group. Right. So to the topic now. Before we get into what is data cloud, right? We all know that you know the last decade, probably last 10 years, the amount of data that we're dealing with has been expanding at a at a really fast rate. And it is said that there is like 328 million terabytes of data that is generated daily. Lots of things happening online, lots of things that are tracked, lots of things that are shared. So much of activity that's happening online has generated so much of data, and we will have to make sense of that data. And how do we do that? Because yes, data is going to keep on growing, but how do we make sense out of it? How do we derive decisions out of it? How do we grow with the scale that it is expanding? So that's very important, and data cloud comes in uh, handy in those aspects. Another thing is AI, right? So AI, anything when we talk about AI, it's dependent on training data. The data that it is used to train is very crucial. And so AI, as mentioned here, is nothing without data. And everything that you have seen, ChatGPTs or Gemini's or OpenAI technologies, everything has been built on the basis of the data that we are all generating and seeing. So it makes much more sense to have good data, quality data, well managed and well maintained data. So these are all very important aspects if we want to go down the direction of AI and go down the direction of AI development and AI applications. Right. So having said that, if you go into businesses, if you look at large enterprises or even medium-sized enterprises, they have tons of applications for different purposes, but all of those data are generally disconnected, meaning they all lie in different places. They all have different frequencies in which they get updated. They have their own purpose, but still, it is disconnected because those systems do not natively talk to each other, and you will have to build expensive connections and everything to actually, that's why integration is such a big area, that these applications, if at all they need to talk, there is an expensive component of development that's involved there. That's why you don't easily get to use all the data that you have in the enterprise effectively. What are all the solutions? Data warehouse, yes. Data lake houses, yes. But there are certain problems with that, or I wouldn't say problems. Um, there are some things that they cannot do. That's what we need to uh, f- like solve for, and that's where data cloud comes in, and we will see how data cloud solves those things and what those issues are. Right, as I mentioned, right? So all these systems now, right there, you have like 6 or 7 systems, and the systems always, number of applications always grows as well. Um, Bringing it together is a huge endeavor for any enterprise, and that's where most of the money is spent. It's not in creating applications; it's in integrating applications and making them work together. That's where the problem is. And effectively, after making it a work, it becomes like a point to point solution most of the times, right? One system talking to another, and that system talking to something else. So it becomes like a messy collection of integrations at work at a certain level. Then what the problem is that you cannot effectively use it for your customers, like the business's customers. um, you cannot target your customers, you cannot effectively market, you cannot effectively make data driven decisions if such an integration of point to point things exist in large applications. So there is always a need for centralization, right? um, you may argue that Salesforce was supposed to be that centralized system, customer 360, where we bring in all customer data into Salesforce. And why are we bringing in a new product here, right? Why are we bringing in Data Cloud when Salesforce was supposed to be that central system? We will address that as well, and we'll show you what makes Data Cloud different and how it's different from the Salesforce data models and Salesforce Customer 360. Oh, by the way, any questions? Raise your hand or feel free to talk at any time.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Ramesh.
Right. Oops. Right. Now, this is where I was talking about the difference between existing data warehouses and lake houses to data cloud, right? It's this thing called activation or acting on the data. Now, if you think about it, ultimately, all this data that we are collecting, that we are using, processing, and building is all to actually effectively improve your business, improve your customer experiences, set yourself up for success for longer term, increase productivity, and all of that, right? So in a nutshell, it's all about acting on the data that you have collected and worked on. We call it as an activation of the data. Um, and it fits very well in the marketing scenario, especially. You collected customer data, you gathered insights about the customers using that data. Now you have to act upon that decision, you have to act upon that insight. If you take a typical data warehouse application or a data lakehouse application or any kind of like large scale data processing applications, it isn't an effective platform for activating it. Like that platform itself cannot segment your customers and send your customers for a marketing purpose, send your customers a promotional email, send your customers for any kind of additional action that you want to perform for advertisements or anything. It is not made for that, right? Data warehouses are not made for that kind of a thing. No, that when you take data cloud, the core of data cloud is activation, I would say. That's the purpose of data cloud, and everything that happens before that is is for activating it to different platforms. You got the data, now you send it to mobile platforms, you send it to marketing clouds, you send it to any other external systems, you send it to Google Ads, FB Ads, multiple different platforms that you can send it to for activation. And you'll see how that works, and um, what is the advantage in terms of time to value that data cloud brings in compared to all the other platforms. Right. Some of the things that data cloud solves are, um, when we have multiple data across different systems, you don't have a full picture of your customer. You'll have duplicates across systems, and multiple people might be working on that duplicates in different systems. That is a problem in many different ways, right? So we call that as an incomplete picture of your customer. Next is, you have data locked up in one system of in your entire landscape. Now, to get that data to another end of your system and make it work, there may be delays, time delays in integration, time delays in some manual steps that are involved, and you cannot effectively use that data um, in a timely manner for for good quick result. So we'll have that integration bottlenecks. And another thing is, you need to have accurate data, meaning outdated stuff may not be maybe detrimental in your decision making. You need to make sure that you have good relation between your data in different systems, right? If one system is outdated and another system has a different one, then you have this problem of what data is the right data, and then the your employees or anyone who's working on the data loses confidence. So you need that centralization, you need that time to value, and you need that full picture. All of these are essential when you're working in enterprise applications, right? That's where data cloud comes in. Right. So basically, um, data cloud, Salesforce data cloud as a product, it unlocks your trapped data, tries to, works towards building this 360-degree view of the customer. That's a collection of all the information that's coming on from your enterprise. And then we perform something called as harmonization or unification of all the data that's been collected. There are some very good tools and very good mechanisms available in data cloud that helps you to build that unified profile of your customer, and that's the biggest task that's involved in data cloud. And I'll quickly show you how that works as well. And once you have built that customer profile, then the next steps is all about activating or acting on that, building insights, using that data and building something called as calculated insights, and use those insights to make some business decisions and do some activations. Now, all of this that you have collected, processed, transformed, unified, these are all solid, great data. That's clean data, accurate data. That can be the basis for enabling your AI in all of your applications, whether it's sales, service, marketing, or wherever you want AI to form a you know, big part of your business processes. They all can bank on this Salesforce data cloud. And we have mechanisms where you can build your own models using model builder in Salesforce based on the data cloud data. So this is all seamlessly integrated now, that you can easily use the data cloud data to build your AI models within Salesforce. This is a great development, I would say, in the last, in this year. a very high level view, and then we will dive in deeper into each of this areas. So, right. So you see this this diagram here, data cloud on the left, and then all your CRM applications, UIs, everything that we are familiar with in the middle, and then on the right side is Einstein enabled by the trusted data that we have. So as you can see, data cloud stands outside of the platform, outside of the core, as we call it. Excuse me. Any applications that you have worked on, built thus far, including marketing cloud, is still considered platform or core. You know, all the industries cloud, public sector, net zero, anything, media and communications, health, they're all at the part of the core platform. Now, when it comes to data cloud, it is what we call as off core. Data is not stored like how typically we store data in objects in Salesforce. It is stored slightly differently, which I'll talk about in the upcoming slides. But all the data manipulations, all the transformations, all the unifications, they all happen. Um, they all happen. Kind of the data is resides outside. It gets reformed in different layers again and again until it becomes the unified profile. Everything happens off core, and then once the data is ready, then you can use that in all of your applications using native integration from data cloud to core applications. Before I jump on to the next slide, which will go deep into the data cloud, any questions?
Will there be any API limits or anything to push data between Data Cloud and other apps?
Yes, the limits are not like the platform limits that we have, but there are limits in terms of you know activating it, but the numbers are really, really high when it comes to activating it. So say data cloud data needs to go to marketing, data cloud data needs to go to sell service anywhere. You will have really, really higher limits because data cloud is designed for big data, large data volumes, um, but the limitations is not going to be like what we are used to.
Got it. Okay. It's because like I mean like a lot of companies they only keep 2 years or 3 years of data and then they archive the other historic data, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking, is the data cloud a right use case for such cases where you have older data, you want to keep it for compliance reasons, but at the same time you just don't want to have it outside the platform.
Right. This has been a common theme in a large
Mm-hmm.
enterprise things where how much data should I keep in data cloud? The rule of thumb, or at least in the projects that we go, our recommendation is if that data is going to add value, keeping the time factor aside, if that data, if you think that data is going to add value for a business reason or for a customer experience or for a productivity factor, keep it in data cloud. The moment you think that data or that timeline of data is not going to further improve any of your decision making, then it's time to archive that data out of data cloud. That is kind of the um, idea that we have.
Got it. And can again, like some companies have multiple Salesforce orgs,
Yes.
right? Like, and so is it one data cloud to multiple orgs or one org, or is it one to one or one to many there?
So so we just introduced a new product called as Data Cloud One,
Okay,
it was previously called remote data cloud, or data cloud one, to connect your data cloud instance to multiple crms and act upon them, like you can publish to multiple crms at the same time, meaning not at the same time but with just one single instance. Otherwise, activating is usually for home org, what we call as home org. where data cloud is connected to. Previously, data cloud can be connected to one CRM for activation, but multiple CRMs for intake. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, got it. Yeah,
No. So, but now with Data Cloud 1, you can collect information from multiple arcs and you can activate it to multiple different arcs, multiple different Salesforce arcs using Data Cloud 1, which was released last month in Dreamforce. Yeah,
got it. Thank you.
sure.
Um, yes, Ryan has one question.
Sure.
Still one marketing cloud instance, right? It's put on the
Yes,
chat.
that's still one marketing cloud instance. Yes, that is a limitation that we have.
So on the same lines, Logesh, when suppose we are trying to push and pull the data, do you think it's a good practice to do it like a nightly batch job or like synchronously? What do you say?
You mean pull from Salesforce?
If you are, yeah, if you are pushing and pulling the data, right? Is it better to have like a batch job, nightly batch jobs, like off peak hours, so that you don't, have any performance issues on your current Salesforce?
So, good question. So, thing is, Data Cloud comes with CRM, native Salesforce CRM connectors.
Mhm.
You don't have to build anything. You don't have to do API calls or batches. It takes care of it. There is a full refresh that can happen every other week, and then you could do um, incremental pull, which is like every 15 minutes. So you're not. This is already preset. You don't have to do anything about pulling data from a Salesforce CRM into Data Cloud. It generally doesn't have to be like batch mode because it doesn't affect Salesforce core's performance, Salesforce CRM's performance, because Data Cloud is pulling from there and Salesforce core is not pushing. So that's in terms of that side of the connection. Next diagram will actually explain that better. You see the data source connections on the left. These are all the Salesforce connections. We use out of the box connector, OOBs called out of the box connectors. So that will maintain how data is going to come in. And yes, you can set up two types of one is batch ingestion and streaming ingestion. You can also write your own ingestion. There is an ingestion API to pull data from data sources, but it is not like you know anything that you have to program and develop and deploy. You can use the native connectors to pull data in. And if you're talking about pushing data out, again, you don't have to build anything. Well, you just have to use the options that are already in there using data actions and a certain other things where you can publish your data out to a Salesforce CRM using something called as related list enhancements, field enhancements, and as I said, data actions. So there are means and ways that are already available in Data Cloud to push and pull from Salesforce.
Got it. Thanks.
All right. So this diagram is kind of like covers the end to end of what happens inside Data Cloud, and we will go further into each of these, but at a very high level. But this will summarize everything that we need to know about Data Cloud. So as I mentioned, right, the it all starts with connecting to all the different data sources that an enterprise can have, and bring that all um, into Data Cloud. Now imagine you have your own web applications, your websites, or a large enterprise can have multiple different publicly available sites, and you want to track your user engagement on those sites, right? So you use engagement SDK, interactions SDK, and you put certain components in your websites to track your users and get your information from there. First party data, it's still considered first party data. Bring them in directly into Salesforce. So that's one important aspect of web integration. Just one second. Oh, yeah. So if you have that kind of a web interaction data, you can relate it to product interests, how much time somebody has spent on your website. All those information is readily brought into data cloud. This is all real time ingestion, and then you can make you can make customized recommendations, customized email campaigns, and customized ad activations for those users, uh, in different channels using that information. Is one important use case that every customer that we have worked on always uses. It's become like a norm, but data cloud has brought a kind of um, a boost to that particular flow, I would say. So you see all of those connectors out of the box. We have, it's always growing. So apart from the Salesforce CRM connectors, we do have a bunch of connectors that are readily available to connect your cloud storages and get your data in. And as I said, mobile and web apps are also available. Apart from that, we also have the APIs and SDKs that I mentioned. So you can build your own ingestion APIs to push data into data cloud from any of your applications that we have. We have large applications, large homegrown applications of other customers where it's very hard to pull data out of it. So what we do is there is we use the ingestion APIs, build those little data extraction units, and get that data into Salesforce Data Cloud. For anything for which we do not have a connector or we cannot use APIs, of course, we can bring in MuleSoft. As you know, MuleSoft, anything that has an API, MuleSoft can work with that any application. And MuleSoft has a native data cloud connector that can automatically, connect to data cloud and bring in data instantaneously as well. So this is a huge factor when it comes to data cloud, the MuleSoft data cloud connector, such a big element of the solutions. Right, so that's the connect piece of it. All the data is brought in. Excuse me. Now it is stored in. It's actually this data. It resides ultimately in Amazon S3 buckets, in a very specific proprietary format that we have that is meant for easy consumption, easy extraction, and yes, Vijay. Yeah, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, a quick question again. Like Salesforce recently, I mean, in the past few years, they launched big objects, right?
Yeah.
So, how is this product strategically different to big objects? Because the purpose use case looks identical, right? Any outdated information, anything you don't want to access that frequently, you can put. But how is that? How are these both different?
Big objects is very, very limited in terms of capabilities. It's in there, but if you think about it, you cannot really manipulate that big object data. You cannot, act on it. There is very less that you can do on the data that is in the big object. Not even transforms. I mean, you cannot change them. You can display them, but it acts more like almost very close to a static table. But here, this is a whole different thing. This is actionable stuff. This is like you can you can bring in a relational data, right? With
Hmm.
objects, you have to create all your big objects, right? You have to create the relationship. But data cloud, it comes with, when you see unified metadata model, it comes with customer 360 data model with this has probably like maybe like 200, 300 DMOs, data model objects that are very well structured with so many different subject areas. So you can leverage that richness of relationship automatically and use that information. For example, it has subject areas like sales subject area, marketing subject area, core subject areas, and then product is a subject area. So many different data structure is already available for you, and moreover, this data, you can run your unification on those data and build your single custom profile. Those things are all stuff that's not available in big data.
Got it. Okay, that totally makes sense, right? Because like, yeah, we used big objects right now, and there's
Yeah.
so many limitations.
Yes.
Yeah, and like, which is why we for any future state we are pushing them to Azure Data Lake, right? I mean, like, it's because like it's much easier to maintain in Azure to build Tableau dashboards out of it
True.
than use a big object. Okay, that makes
And
sense. Thank you.
so Azure Data Lake, right? You can bring in using. I think we have a Azure Data Lake connector, if I'm not wrong. Directly bring that data into Data Cloud. I mean, using bring your own lake option, which is virtualization, virtualized connection of your data still resides in your lake, but you can leverage that within Data Cloud using virtualization. So that's another option with bring your own lake.
Got it.
Right. So you see that connect part where the data is still considered unstructured, right? You brought it in and it stays as it is in there. Now you have to prepare that data because data is coming in from multiple different sources. It'll have to be formatted, cleaned up, standardized, structured, whatever it is. And then there are some very nice cool tools for that within Data Cloud. And you act upon that and you build what is called as data lake objects. So in this connect, we have what is called as data source objects. As it the data as it has come from other systems are stored as it is, and then you convert that and put it into data lake objects in this prepare space, uh, and you can have different data spaces for you. Let's say you have multiple different orgs, and you can divide that by, hey, this is my financial data, this is my wealth data, this is my retail data. So you can create a logical separations using data spaces of that particular data. And I'm not particularly sure about the vector search index. So that's a topic on DLO. Now, once it's come to DLO, now you have a little bit more structured data, what we call as a bronze format. Now you're going to push towards gold format. Between that is the silver format, and that's where we bring in the unified metadata model. When we say unified metadata model, this is something that Data Cloud comes with. All the TMO structure that we need. As I said, like 200, 300, 200 to 300 um, table structures that are already there. Um, Again, this is all not S objects. This is all not within Salesforce platform. This resides at the end in an S3 bucket, but the structure is there. Now you take the data that's in DLO and map it to uh, DMO objects into that customer 360 model. This is a very important exercise, and the reason we do that is because we want to bring it to a structure that where you can act upon it effectively. If you want to use it as directly from DLOs, the thing is you will have to build multiple relationships. You will have to create those relationships over and over again. Why do we have to do that when DMO data model objects are already there? So from DLO, we get to DMO, and then from DMO, once the data is all come in, now there is a need for unification. Like the same person's data could be there in Service Cloud, Sales Cloud, in your data lake houses, from coming from mobile apps, coming from web applications. It could be coming from multiple different sources in from different customer touch points. Now you need to unify that, and Salesforce Data Cloud brings tools that are very effective in unifying that using match rules and reconciliation rules. This is different from the match rules and duplicate rules that we have in the Salesforce platform, because obviously this is acting on different data models, different data objects. The idea is kind of similar, but the specifics are different when it comes to reconciliation. Once the reconciliation is done, we have resolved multiple different customer information into one information, using all clicks and codes. I mean, clicks, no codes. Then you have this what is called as the gold data, the gold version of your data, the most unified, most comprehensive collection of all your customer information. Then you can now build insights. You can now start to identify more patterns within the data, start to identify more um, things that that were hidden, that you could not find easily using calculated insights. Calculated insights is nothing but a set of functions, set of little tools that are available for you to run let's say queries on particular data easily and derive them. There are some preset calculated insights that you can use. There are tons of functions that you can apply on those and build those stuff, and that information can be used for AI predictions, AI analysis, as it's mentioned there. There's a little sophisticated tools that are available within the calculated insights. Now, once you have done all of that, you will start to identify groups of customers that are alike, right? You know, Geographically or behaviorally, or in across various different factors, you will see a pattern amongst your customer data, and that's what you will use for segmentation. People with marketing cloud experience will know that segmentation is about grouping your customers so that you can act on that particular group with specific attention. So segmentation is an important aspect for activation. Before you activate, you want to know your groups of customers. You can build your groups of customers. This is like, consider this to be like a set of filter criterias to identify segments. And now with AI, you you can request Einstein to build segments of how you want those segments, or Einstein will recommend, hey, we looked at the data. I think this is a good segment for your business process. There's a segment. Einstein segmentation is an important recent development as well. Now, once you have these segments, now you act upon those segments. So for example, you identified a set of customers who have been very active on your purchasing your products or engaging with you. Now you want to offer loyalty programs for them, or you want to offer long-term discounts for them, or you want to do a promotion specifically to them, or you can target it based on age groups. You can target it based on product interests, whatever it is, new releases, new product releases that you want. So you can do email channels, web channels. You take that segment and you use that segment. Okay, this is a web. These people are mobile app savvy people. So let's do a mobile activation for this segment. You kind of divide that and you take that segment and activate it. Activation is nothing but it's basically taking a segment and pushing the segment to a channel. That's all activation is. Um, it could be the marketing cloud, as I said. All the things that are on the right side, you can activate any different platforms. You can activate data back to Salesforce as well. A different org, or in fact the same org as well, as we discussed previously. That will give you like a rich. I mean, Data Cloud will give you a rich set of options to do multiple different activations across these channels. And that is where, personally, that's where I think the biggest advantage of Data Cloud is. Suppose a web activity is identified, within seconds, it's inside Data Cloud. And if you have a predefined segment for that, it will go into that segment. And if you have a defined activation frequency, it will activate automatically. And let's say you browsed a mobile phone and you research the specifications, you'll be able to get a personalized email about the product within minutes to your email box using this kind of a structure. So you just build that channel, build that flow, and you're all good to leverage Data Cloud. Any questions before I move forward?
Lokesh, one question I have here is
Yeah,
on the data security and privacy, right? Or the
yeah.
HIPAA compliant, like how does that, how do we tackle that in the data cloud? Is that encrypted or
You mean data that is inside Data Cloud?
yeah, uh, any PHI data or anything?
There is, well, it is not by default encrypted. There is a recent release, I think. I'm not sure about the timeline, but there has been a lot of different um, features that are released for data privacy, data security, data governance in general within Data Cloud. But I don't think we have a platform encryption that is by default available in Data Cloud yet. Yeah, within Data Cloud. But data governance wise, there has been many different features that I've come across.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. Um, so this was supposed to be a 90-minute presentation, but we're trying to fit it into an hour. So I will go forward a little bit faster because we have only like less than 15 minutes. But um, yeah, but feel free to bring your questions. Right, as I mentioned, uh, behind the scenes, the logical structure is it starts as a data source object, it goes into a data lake object after you do the transformations, and data lake objects are mapped to a data model object, which is the Salesforce defined customer 360 data model. And this is where that you see from bronze to silver to gold, and gold is the DMOs are the gold data model, and this is what is used. DMOs are what is used for segmentation, DMOs are what is used for AI training, DMOs are what is used for activations. So this is the gold standard data. So just an example of profile unification. Consider that a person who's interacting with your website or your application. In these are all the possibilities of how they've interacted with you. Your guest checkouts, an email interaction, so through Twitter, multiple different profiles. It seems like multiple different person, but at the end of the day, this is one person, and this is a very, very, very common scenario across multiple customers that we have seen. Now, you don't want to consider each of this as a separate person, right? You want to unify them. Now, how can you effectively easily unify them? First, you need to collect them, bring it to a central place, and then unify it, right? So that's what Data Cloud does with all the stuff that we saw previously. Ultimately, you want to build this profile, what we call as the unified customer profile, and all unified customer profile will have a unified ID. Now we build this from all of that, and then we create this relation. This is a DMO, by the way. This will sit in a DMO. Order history is a DMO, case history is a DMO, marketing response is a DMO. Now you know the holistic view of a person within a DMO, and now you can act on it, and all the interactions are centralized here. Right? Just a visual representation of what this is. Um, yeah, so once you have brought in data, once you've put them into Data Cloud, once you've brought them into DMOs, now you can start to activate it to different sections within your applications. Um, the insights that you have developed could be for sales, could be for service, could be for marketing and commerce. It could be for anything that you're already using. So it's one single activations or multiple activations. Ultimately, it is passing of valuable information from Data Cloud over to each of these areas. I'll share this presentation because it tells you like specifically, for sales, what are all the activations, with service, what are all the different activations that you can do. Just examples, by the way. Yeah. Right. So this is like what different information from different sources can add, how it can add value to a particular customer profile. You see the web activity and an engagement feed comes from Amazon S3 using Interactions SDK. You can bring in Snowflake data or any other data warehouse data that has done some research of, for example, propensity to buy. Now that is brought in from Data Cloud onto your Salesforce platform. and it has combined information from, let's say, three different orgs and presented it like this to you. This is kind of the new gold standard that we are building towards using Data Cloud. Right. Another thing is the time to value that I spoke about previously. When you had multiple systems without Data Cloud, to get something, you will have to first surface this information from multiple places and then run queries and get them data in here. Now, with Data Cloud, the advantage is, of course, connecting is takes its time, but once the connections are all established, now getting things to run or generating, things like propensity modeling are all inbuilt, and you know takes minutes to run propensity model on the data that you have collected. Right. As this is just pretty much what we talk about, you can activate it to any different areas with all the insights that you have. All these are native. That's the most important things. Native activations. You don't have to build anything new. You just need to leverage these activations. So in short, you connect, you analyze the data, you do predictions, and then the third bucket, you certainly automate some. If you want to with segmentations and activations, you can automate it, and you take action on your data. Now, all that information that you have done so far can be used effectively to build your own data model, and this has never been possible before with such ease. Grounded data, your own custom data, your own insights to build your own model within Salesforce. Right. So I'm not going to go through all these use cases and stuff. There's tons of it as to how Data Cloud can help, sales, service, and marketing. Specifically pointing out things that Data Cloud can surface for all these. But instead, I'm going to jump to uh, just to show the you a little bit, and then we can. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, go for it. Try and log in. Sorry, I had to rush the last few segments. Can you all see my chat? Yes,
Yes, we
everything.
see your demo org.
Okay, 1 second. I lost my screens. Okay, all right. Right. So this is a Data Cloud app, right? This is just an application that talks to all the data that resides in S3 bucket, by the way. So this is not Salesforce objects. This is not your typical Salesforce object managers or anything like that. Um, so this is an app that talks with your data that resides outside of the platform. So you got Data Cloud. Well, I'm in Data Cloud. These are all the default tabs that you have. The left and right navigation is just resembles the diagram that we saw. Right, it starts with data stream, data source objects, called as data streams. These are all the connections that you build from external ones. So I have an existing connection to our Salesforce CRM. I mean the current org, the home org as we call it. You can easily build a connection. I mean, you can easily invoke anything that you want from Salesforce CRM, and you have all these tons of connectors that you can connect to. Imagine any product. you will have a native default connector for that, which is great, if you think about it. And it's been growing with every release, and it's just on the list is endless. And once you have them, it comes in as data source object. So go in to Salesforce. Now it has something called as bundles, meaning with a single connection, you can bring in multiple different objects. Um, in this case, you can contact, account, and lead. And then in service, you have multiple different things that you can bring in. There's an MCP personalization one, and then there is a digital engagement. There are many more bundles. This my art doesn't have all of them. So just to show you what it involves. Oh, I am installed. Okay. So it's just a click to install those bundles. My demo orgs don't have that option, but instead I'm just going to show you that. Suppose I want to bring in accounts, and what I have to do is just go through the initial ones, select the fields that I want. I can skip any field if I don't want, and you have to categorize them into either profile or engagement or other. This is a very important one because only profile type of data can be unified, and engagement type of data is supporting ones they cannot be unified. So this little categorization is very important. You can also create formula fields right at the onset of the data streams. One second. Oh, yeah, put the charge. Right. So yeah, you can create a formula field right at the onset, and you can do that as well. Um, right. So this is settings is, as I mentioned, you could do an automated incremental refresh, which is like once every 15 minutes. And there is also a full refresh, which is every other week, if I'm not wrong. The frequencies are a little bit confusing for me always. So once you have created this, now this will start pulling in the data, and any change that is made in the source org will be automatically available in your data cloud in that frequency. So this will take like a couple of minutes probably. It's a demo arc anyways. And then once it's there, there will be an option to click on a mapping or to transformations. And just in the interest of time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you one thing that are already existing. So this is something that I pulled in. So case, pulled in the case one. You can see all the fields that it pulls in. You can see the status of how many records and everything. Now if you want, now this is all data source object, right? Now if you want to um, do some um, mappings or do some actually this is a data lake object, by the way. You cannot see a data source object, which is something that you need to know, because that's created in the backend. As when you create the data stream, you don't have direct access to data source object. You bring in into this is just a view of what that fields are. You cannot see that data. Now if you want to map it to a data model DMO, you start from here. You go to data mapping, and this on the left side is your data lake object, and then right side, this is where the most important aspect of data cloud comes in. It's the DMOs, the data models that are readily available. It's a little bit slow here.
So, Lokesh, you are using your native Salesforce account object and trying to push it to a data cloud and then uh, fetch it back. Uh, I'm just
Now I'm
trying to.
not fetching it back. I'm just pushing it. So this is one of my profile data. I may have another sources to bring in data as well. So I'll bring in all my data, and then I'll build the unified profile for me, for unified customers using all those source data. It could be from the website as well, or it could be from other Salesforce orgs. It could be from data warehouses. But effectively, you're just bringing in different customer data from different entities. But I'm not trying to push it back to Salesforce yet. But I will only push it back to Salesforce if I have cleaned up, or if I've enhanced the customer, or if I've deduplicated it. Then there's a point to actually activate it to Salesforce back. So it depends on the use case. Bottom line. So this is the mapping screen. Um, so this is the data lake objects, and this is the data model objects. You can create custom fields here, and anything that you want to map different ones. Now it looks pretty little bit identical because we are looking at case as the source and case as the destination target as well. But in general, think of this as coming in from Microsoft, coming in from um, any other varied systems. This will look very different, and then you will have to map it to your customer 360 data model here. You have to click on a particular. No, all of this is mapped. So you click this, and then let's say you map it to here. This is the existing mapping, and as I said, you can add a new field and map it as well. So this will ultimately be your data model object, and you can map multiple data lake objects to a same data model object as well. So there is tons, because of limitation of time. We will have to skip it. Probably we'll do a follow up on this, just to show all the different things that we have here. There is tons. There is a lot of things that happens, but at least we have covered from source object to lake object to data model object. We can pick it up from probably from identity resolution onwards. Identity resolution itself is a huge topic. But then we can also, after that, we can also talk about calculated insights. How do we build calculated insights, and how do we do activations using this? You can build activation targets, data actions, segments, the grouping of customers, and then activation targets. You create your activation target and then publish your segments to those activation targets.
Okay. Yeah.
There's a lot.
There is one question from Vijay.
Sure. Go ahead.
The chat. It's can we build reports, dashboards on the data lake objects?
No, unfortunately, no. There have been some developments in that area, but right now what we have is Data Explorer, is the only way to kind of look at all the data lake objects, all the data model objects, and it's a little bit limited, in the sense like it's just a display of records just like this, and you can pick the fields that you want, but you cannot build a report off of a DLO or a DMO yet. But you can connect your DMOs to Tableau and report
Mhm.
and do reporting there. So DMOs can be pushed or can be fetched from a Tableau connector, and you can do that from do the reporting from a Tableau user interface. So that is something that people commonly use.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't want, because we only plan for 1 hour, so I don't want to take up more of all of your time. So we'll probably cover all of the rest of the stuff in a different session. One thing I want to leave you with is, again, this is another important one. In the follow up we can do this. This is the technical capability map of data cloud as to what is the technology behind the scenes that helps enable data cloud run. Um, it's good to know, but it's not it doesn't like it's not like necessary for you to know in order to work in data cloud. But this is just some information that can help you visualize things easily in data cloud. So yeah, we'll do a follow up to cover the rest of the stuff.
Sure. Yeah. Uh, One thing asked by Pradeepa is, can you suggest a trailhead module or
Yeah,
for the
so
data cloud? Yeah.
I have put that in the presentation. So this is the data cloud trail. You can get your own custom orgs also from here.
Mhm.
Oh, thank you.
Copy it and very good, by the way. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks. Thanks, Logesh. That was wonderful presentation. Good start for a data cloud, certification, or if you want to explore. Yep. I think most of them want a second, you know, follow-up session. Definitely will plan that
Yeah,
one.
yeah. Let's do and finish the rest of the topics. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thanks,
Thanks.
everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks, Fahad. Yeah.
Yep. Thanks. Thanks,
Thank
Logesh.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Have a nice day.